So, we're at a show about babies, a baby show if you will, a huge hall full of different stands where baby companies and people that make baby things can come and show off their wares. And I noticed one monitor product that says it's really good for premature babies. Wow, great I think, because we only have a few months before my twins are born, and they are likely to be some level of premature. So I step up to ask, does this product work for twins? Oh yeah, twins, scoffs the lady behind the counter and looks down at my waist. Where? When are you due? One of the most common things that I heard from mainly older women when I was out in public for the first few times after having our first baby was a rather snarky, my stomach didn't look like that after I'd had my babies. And I just, oh, what are you expecting here? What do you want me to say? Do you want me to talk to you about my own infertility and how, no, I didn't carry this baby? Or do you want me to tell you about my wife's uterus so you can just turn a critical eye to her? There are a number of reasons why a mother may not have birthed her child, and all of them are pretty personal. Infertility, adoption, step parenting, just stepping up because no one else will. But also being one half of a couple where you're not the birthing person. The prodding to find out why my stomach remains not round is really only pressing me to out myself in multiple ways. You might not think about just intrusive questions when we're talking about homophobia. No one's ever hit me for being gay. But the microaggressions can sometimes cut deeper than just clear aggression. Oh, yet another you're going to hell Bible verse, DM. Delete. And who cuts us the deepest? Family. We love our family. We love seeing all of them. We all love those times of year when the whole family comes together. Parents, grandparents, cousins, uncles, your mother's cousins, sister-in-laws, fathers, ex-wives, stepdaughters, boyfriends, neighbour, truly your nearest and dearest. And then in comes Aunt Mabel, who hasn't seen you since last year and has very clear ideas about that boyfriend you should be getting and the clothes you should be wearing and the way you should be acting. Oh, Aunt Mabel, what's in this beautifully wrapped present? It's microaggressions. You shouldn't have. Ah, yes. The joys of being queer at a family gathering. The joy of wondering if you should say something or not when Aunt Mabel starts talking about how there are too many genders now and how you will find the right boy because she was also a tomboy when she was younger, but thankfully the queer agenda wasn't there yet, so she just sucked it up and married Uncle Bob, even though she hates his guts and has every day for the last 50 years, and he's not here tonight because he may or may not be buried under the coal shed. I just want to clarify, Aunt Mabel is not real. I do have a lot of aunts. None of them have English names. Good, I don't need her blood-soaked gift. Oh no, the microaggressions are real and you will be keeping those. There's no escaping. Oh, very well, then what do I do about them? How to deal with homophobia. Yes. Hello, lovely people. I'm Jessica. My pronouns are she, her, and I've been out since I was 4 because I couldn't be bothered to get into the closet to start with. If this is your first time watching one of my videos and you're interested in deep dives into queer culture, profiles of LGBTQ+ historical figures and chats about life and parenting as a chronically ill disabled lesbian, then you should absolutely hit the subscribe button below so you'll be able to find my channel again after this video. And also, YouTube will then know what you like because you want YouTube to know what kind of person you are and what you like, or else it's just going to give you lots of awful recommendations. Let's talk about what happens when you're faced by well-meaning homophobia and transphobia, even if it's just by omission. And let's talk about when we should and shouldn't speak up. Do you want me to take that from you? Oh, yes, please. No worries, that's what community is for. Can we talk about half the baby gifts we got after our first baby was born was just addressed to my wife? Oh, absolutely. It's hard enough dealing with homophobia and transphobia in your everyday life, but there's a special terror to having to deal with it as it relates to your little family or during a wider family gathering, particularly when you're trying to make sure that everyone's having a good time and no one feels like things are going wrong. Well, isn't that what family's all about? For Aunt Mabel to not realise how deeply upsetting what she's saying is and for everyone else to just dance around her bigotry. No. The theme for this year's UK LGBT History Month 2025 was activism and social change. And these are fundamental aspects of queer life. But I thought we should also talk a bit about how we manage things at a personal level in a way that protects our mental health and ability to live. Yeah, things are on fire enough in the wider sense. I know I started out talking about being a new queer parent, but queer kids, this video is really for you. Disclaimer. I don't think we should ever look back and blame ourselves for not having been a good enough advocate in the past, whether for yourself or for others around you, because it's a skill. It has to be learned, and as a disabled person, I definitely have some traumatic moments in my history where I feel like, oh, if only I'd stood up for myself more, or if only I'd disagreed louder, it wouldn't have turned out so badly. Is there a worse self-hatred than blaming yourself for accidentally agreeing to a thing that caused you irreparable harm? Yes, probably. There are many layers of self-hate. But my point, as cliche as it is that it gets better. You get better at standing up for yourself. And you get better at knowing when you absolutely should do nothing. Nod your head and let the person in front of you assume whatever they want so you can get the hell out of there. Safety first, always. I'm older now and I wouldn't allow myself not to be heard the way my thoughts and opinions were disregarded in the past. People with power listen to me now where they didn't before because they don't look at me and see a teenage girl. And that sucks. Not that I don't look like a teenage girl. It's fine. I don't miss that. I really don't miss that. But what a disservice we're doing to some of our most brilliant minds that we clock girl and teen and we stop listening. And yes, there are other combinations of words we can throw in there, from alternative to gender fluid to fat to even just unattractive. But how ridiculous that we see the face, then decide whether to care for the mind. So if you have family members who behave really poorly around you and your true or perceived queerness, or rude about others, and you watch this video and don't feel like you can turn around and put anything into practice, don't worry about it. You're learning how to steer the world, but it's not your responsibility to run it just yet. Any guilt you may feel for not standing up and saying something when your grandparents were rude about your cousin being in a gay relationship, you should take and channel into building the confidence. Be the proud ally you want to be in the future. Oh, but if you are grandparent age, you're not financially dependent on anyone, and you only mildly like your family anyway, but yet you're still not sticking up for everyone else. I mean, I am judging you. Let's just all try to get through Thanksgiving, Lunar New Year, the high holidays, Eid, your parents' anniversary dinner, and your cousin's baby shower together. And, if seasonal, make many jokes about keeping Yuletide gay. Microaggressions. Well, let's look inside the Microaggressions box from Aunt Mabel. Oh, and by the way, if this is your first time encountering the term, what a swell life you've lived. Microaggressions are subtle put-downs directed towards a marginalised group, which may be verbal or non-verbal, and that are often not meant as harmful. For instance, and first up we have, a backhanded compliment. You're so pretty, I can't even tell you're trans. You wouldn't say, you're so pretty, I couldn't tell you're English. Well, you might do if you're French. It's a niche joke. I'm glad you don't act gay. No, but I do a great Michael Bublé impression after a glass of sherry. And next we have tokenizing language. I'm so happy we've got a queer in the family. Now our family photos will always be coordinated. Literally yesterday you yelled at me for wearing odd socks, Mum. Asking invasive personal questions. But have you ever actually been with a man? To be sure. There are so many things I don't want to talk about with you, Aunt Doris, and this is high on the list. Including all of the opposite sex spouses in the family photo, but not the same sex one. Oh, Grammy, you were not subtle with that one. Misgendering and dead naming. Try. That's all anyone asks. Avoiding shaking hands with your son's boyfriend. He doesn't bite. Unless you ask him to. Enforcing strict gender stereotypes like, you look so much better in a dress. Wow, you look so much better with your mouth shut, Cousin Petra. And finally we have displaying symbols of religious or cultural bias that imply LGBTQ+ identities are immoral or inferior. You might want to take the red hat off before you meet your son's non-binary partner, or don't, so they know how to set their expectations. I guess if we think of them as a Christmas item, microaggressions are more like coal at the bottom of a stocking rather than a proper Christmas gift. Pile up bit by bit till suddenly you're under the coal shed and it hurts. The metaphor works surprisingly well. There is actually evidence that, in some cases, subtle forms of discrimination can be as damaging or sometimes even more damaging long term than overt discriminatory acts.
Did you know chronic stress is a stronger predictor of depressive symptoms as compared to acute stress? Yeah, fun fact for you, an excellent conversation starter piece.
Now this makes sense when you think about it. Like, when someone insults you or punches you in the face, it is much easier to feel justified about being angry, and it is much easier for other people to take it seriously. If Aunt Mabel threw a plate of food in your face, your parents would, ideally, probably agree that was wrong. And you would not have complex feelings, where you have to juggle the fact that you were genuinely hurt with the knowledge that the person who hurt you doesn't think they did anything wrong. But if a family member tells you, "Oh, you're just so pretty when you dress like a girl," or "Think of your grandma, she loves you so much," you wouldn't want to upset her by telling her that you will probably have a harder time explaining why that's actually really difficult to hear and why it makes you uncomfortable. And to begin with, you will have to explain feelings and microaggressions to people who already think that you're the difficult one, and that already adds up as an emotional effort.
Well, Mum, it actually makes me sad when someone implies that me living a happy life is inherently wrong and deserves to be hidden, and I should feel ashamed about it.
Not only do you have to explain, but often you feel you have to be careful about how you do it. A lot of people tend to get defensive when you tell them they're saying something that's homophobic or transphobic, because they often think there's a special kind of person, the homophobe in capital letters, who actively hates all gay people and devotes time and energy to letting everyone know they've got a placard in their front yard. The homophobe, with capital letters, is a bit like the Grinch, but instead of hating Christmas, they hate Pride. Who hates Pride? And your parents or Aunt Mabel think, "I'm not that." They think, "I'm not a homophobe, I'm not a transphobe, therefore it stands to reason the things I say are not homophobic or transphobic."
Oh no. But the thing is, people who say homophobic things, they're not really like the Grinch. Usually.
Even the homophobes who fully and truly believe that at any moment you are going to be struck down by lightning to the pits of fiery hell will still converse with you at a checkout counter or smile and nod when you hold the door open for them. That's just society, and capitalism says we need to keep things moving, honey. But we live in a world where the expected norm for most people is not being LGBTQ+. So often people will say or do things that may be upsetting to queer people without meaning to do so. Structurally, society is kind of designed to be homophobic and transphobic. Just like it's designed to be racist against people who aren't white. There is no white racism. No. The world's systems were historically built for whiteness. Now, that doesn't mean everyone who says or does something homophobic wants to act like a bigot and negatively impact the queer community. It means that LGBTQ+ people have to go out of their way to remind institutions and individuals about their needs. For instance, when someone asks where Rupert's daddy is, it's not because they're the kind of person who would sneak out in the middle of the night to steal every rainbow flag in the neighbourhood. It's because they just forgot queer people exist and that they have children, and it's kind of the default to ask a child when you see them with a woman, I guess. I mean, it's not my default, but then I'm quite gay, so...
And when someone says, "Wow, he must look really like your husband," they aren't making fun of me for having weak genes. They've just forgotten that sometimes mothers aren't biologically related to their child. And when a lady at the freaking baby show gives me a hard time because she thinks I'm lying to her about being pregnant with twins, well, I guess she's just forgotten that not every mother gives birth to their child. And, she doesn't want to make a sale.
These people aren't card-carrying members of the homophobe club, but they are perpetuating microaggressions. But when you call out someone for saying something upsetting, they do not think you are saying, "Hey, these things you're saying are upsetting and hurtful."
You are the Grinch who stole Pride.
They think that if you tell them what they're doing is bothering you, it means you're calling them a bad person. Because they don't think of homophobia as structural. They think of it as the thing a bad person does.
I now really feel like someone should make How the Grinch Stole Pride. I would watch that.
Yeah, there'd be a scene where everyone gathers together to sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow because they remember the true meaning of pride. Or probably Defying Gravity because it's 2025. And yes, I am aware because of the current events of the world that some people actively want to hurt the queer community, even if they think that this will not bring actual harm to the queer people who they love, because they think of queerness as a scary, formless boogeyman, and you're just misguided and wrong. You're different, you're a good one. You won't actually be affected as a person by laws inherently meant to make the world harder for you. You're not a formless boogeyman, you're someone they love. So how could you be in danger? Maybe that's why Halloween is gay Christmas. Maybe it's just because you're not expected to get together with your actual family of origin. And so, even though the LGBTQ plus person is the one who has received the microaggression, they have to spend emotional labour in making sure the person who hurt them doesn't get their feelings hurt as well by being told that they said something hurtful. And this is not only unfair, it is exhausting. I just wanted Aunt Mabel to use the right pronouns for my girlfriend, but now I've been explaining for the last 3 hours how she's not a bad person, but what she did isn't great, and I'm just tired. How do you deal with this?
So, what do you do with microaggressions in a family gathering?
Should you do anything about it? Should you just ignore them? There really isn't one correct answer for this. Obviously, each family has different dynamics going on, and you will know better than me how the people in your life will react to being called out when they're being inappropriate. But there are still some things that may be good to consider, regardless of what you decide to do. You can say nothing, or you can speak out. You can be serious, or you can make a joke. But it is important that you remember that your response should be something that serves you. It should be something that allows you to feel better, or at least to not feel worse. Both your feelings and your safety matter here, whether you say something or not when someone is hurting you. It should be for your own sake, first and foremost. Not so the person who said something hurtful feels like they have something they should be sorry about.
Not so people learn a valuable lesson.
It is so you can have as good a time as possible in the face of people disrespecting you. And I know, it is tempting to think what they are saying is wrong and it's my job to make sure they don't behave this way when they meet other queer people. But let me be very clear about this. Your sexuality or gender are not an educational opportunity for others. They are a part of your identity. Number one, it is not your job to educate your family. If you feel like you can have a good, productive conversation that will make you feel better and more seen, then go ahead. Tell Aunt Mabel why the thing she said was not okay. I hope this will bring you two closer and make her heart grow 3 sizes. If it will be easier for you to tune out all the comments, sit with that other cousin who gives you significant eye contact when someone starts saying transitioning is too easy in this country and what Trump did in the States is protecting women's rights. That's also perfectly valid. Also, she's great. We love her. Get her the good present. Number 2, if you're feeling guilty about being upset, don't. No, really. It is always legitimate to feel upset or hurt. You should try to treat people with empathy and with kindness, and where possible you should communicate your feelings with care. But feelings are not actions. It is not your responsibility to manage the emotions of the people who have upset or offended you. Oh, you keep saying awful things and now you're annoyed because you didn't think it was that bad and now you feel like you're always dancing on eggshells around me. I don't care. Be better. Even if someone says something hurtful without noticing because they don't know about your life experience and you know for a fact that they don't want to be hurtful, it's still okay for you to feel hurt or angry. You do not choose what to feel. You choose how you talk about it. Thinking or even saying, I'm sad or I'm angry is not attacking someone else. You being sad because Aunt Mabel can't remember your pronouns is not ruining your sister's birthday party. You feeling angry because Aunt Mabel keeps asking you when you're going to get a boyfriend, even though your girlfriend is sitting right here, is not ruining Thanksgiving. If metaphorical Aunt Mabel metaphorically steps on your foot repeatedly, even if she didn't mean to, someone is still stepping on your foot. And at some point, maybe, she's going to have to remember that your foot's there. And if she doesn't, whether it is on purpose or not, you get to take your foot somewhere else. If other people don't support you in doing that, that's on them. And it says more about them than it does about you. Number 3, you can walk away. You should be able to be in an environment where your identity and experiences are not attacked and demeaned. And very often we cannot choose how strangers react to queerness, but this should not happen to you in the space where you are meant to be safe and with people who love you. If you are an adult or financially independent and family gatherings are just guilt and recrimination and microaggression bursts. It's okay if you just don't go.
It is okay if you would rather avoid spending time with people who make you feel small or sad, even if they're related to you.
You don't need to make yourself go through that. If this is possible for you and you have a community to rely on, you spend the holidays with people in your life who make you feel comfortable and supported in the way you live. Have your holidays and important events with your loved ones who actually love you in a way that doesn't hurt. That is what the whole idea of a chosen family is all about. And what about coming out? Is it your duty to be good representation, to teach your family how to behave? Is it your duty to prove to your family that queer people are normal by showing them that someone they love is part of the LGBTQ+ community? Should you be less flamboyant? More flamboyant? Should you act in a specific way? No. Number 4, you never have to prove anyone right or wrong about queerness. You do not need to worry about being too stereotypical or not stereotypical enough. You never need to be representation for anything. You are a real person, and all you have to worry about is living in a way that makes you happy. You're representing yourself today, unless you decide to put yourself out there, in which case, it doesn't matter if you think you are too complicated or difficult to explain, because you're not being your identity for the benefit of others. And love is just love. Trust me, I'm a mum. I just love little blob of person. Whatever. I have a child. My child can do whatever. It doesn't matter. I love them. There's love.
Honestly, if you are under 18 and you are worried about how your family is going to react when you come out to them because they give big homophobe energy, don't come out. Just don't do it. I will say this again. You should prioritize your physical and emotional safety at all times. And also a new one, your education, because you're going to need it to get away from these people. You can share who you are, tear the family group chat in two, and then mend bridges and come back together later, when you're an adult.
You do not owe people telling them your sexuality or your gender. Being out is not something we do because other people have a right to look inside the window of your soul. It is for you to be able to have a more fulfilling life and to be more authentic to yourself. You don't come out because people have a right to know what you are. You give yourself words to describe your identity when and if it helps you to understand who you are, what you need, and where to find community. If you're a minor and you are financially dependent and you don't know with 100% certainty that your parents will react positively, you do not have to come out. You never have to come out. Don't put yourself in danger. According to a 2022 report from the Trevor Project, 14% of LGBTQ+ youth reported that they had slept away from parents or caregivers because they were kicked out or abandoned. 40% reporting that they were kicked out or abandoned due to their LGBTQ+ identity. And in this video, I am mostly talking about microaggressions and how to deal with them. But queer people are also more at risk of physical abuse at the hands of their family members, especially during the holidays. A portion of the proceeds from today's video will be donated to AKT, a youth homelessness charity here in the UK. Easter's coming up. If you are at risk of homelessness or violence, I have put a series of links in the description to organisations that may be helpful to you in the UK and the US. Please, everyone, let us know about other resources from your country in the comments below. Stay safe. Microaggressions in your queer child. Okay, so that bit was for you, young queer person. But I still have some things to say to the adults in the room.
Sorry, things have gotten a bit heavy. I'm not done with my preaching.
Get me your parents. Put your parents on the phone.
Hi, this is Jessica. I was just here having a chat with your lovely child about microaggressions and family gatherings. How do you do? Love that sweater you're wearing. Delightful.
Now you may be wondering how to better support your child when you have a family function, where people may make them feel uncomfortable or attacked. And if you aren't, maybe it's time to start, because there is a reason you're being shown this video. First of all, listen to them. Don't get defensive. Don't play devil's advocate when they tell you someone in your family is being homophobic. Do not say, well, I'm sure she didn't mean it like that. Well, you did choose to wear a dress.
Stop. No, we do not shame.
Don't make your child have to be the one making sure that people who hurt them do not feel like they did something wrong, or having to explain to you why it's also important how the things that were said make them feel. If your child is out and you would rather they weren't, you may think that not letting your child express their feelings is protecting them. After all, you know LGBTQ+ people receive abuse, and you may think the best way to avoid that is hiding who they are. You've seen how people behave when kids show even the smallest smidge of interest in gender non-conforming activities.
You've watched the news. You've watched Billy Elliot.
If you haven't watched Billy Elliot, I would highly recommend it. It's quite good. But actually, what you're doing is the opposite of protecting your child. We have good evidence that family acceptance of queerness in adolescence is associated with better health outcomes in young adults and correlates with greater self-esteem, social support, and general health. And it prevents negative health outcomes like depression, substance abuse, and suicidal ideation and attempts. If you are a parent of a queer child and you know they're going to have a bad time when you go to see your family, don't let it be on them. Don't let your child have to explain to the adults in the room why they deserve respect. And don't tell your child it's their duty to not feel negative emotions when someone is being homophobic or transphobic to them. And do not tell your child that they need to package themselves back up into an acceptable box. Your child is beautiful, just the way they are. Your child will remember that when push comes to shove, you think their feelings are less important than protecting the feelings of people who don't accept them. Don't let your kids learn that you think keeping the peace means other people get to not be uncomfortable at their expense. People are coming out at increasingly young ages. According to that 2022 report I mentioned before, in the United States, teenagers aged 13 to 17 came out on average at age 13, compared to peers who were 18 to 24, whose average age of coming out was 16. But kids who come out at earlier ages are also at greater risks of suicide and mental health issues. 56% of those who came out before the age of 13 seriously considered suicide in 2021. And you know what? Those numbers may make you feel alarm. They may make you think, oh no, queerness, gayness, transness, that shouldn't be for my child. That shouldn't be with young children. But being who they are is not the thing that makes these kids feel bad. It is how the society, the world around them, reacts to them. And you're a part of that. These are numbers from 2 years ago, but we all know that the American election results, amongst other recent developments, have been a blow for LGBTQ+ people all over the world. The Trevor Project recorded a 700% spike in youth calls to their mental health crisis line after Election Day. 700%! The Rainbow Youth Project USA Foundation received 1,400 calls from youth in significant distress in the first 2 days after Trump was sworn in. Remember when Trump was sworn in and just immediately rolled back protections for transgender people?
Yeah, that did not have a good effect on people's moods, let me tell you that.
Here in the UK, puberty blockers have been banned indefinitely in December last year. In 2024, according to the Trevor Report numbers, 62% of LGBTQ+ young people in the UK experienced symptoms of depression, and 58% reported having self-harmed. 58% of LGBTQ+ students said they avoided bathrooms at school due to a fear of safety. It's really not a good time to be queer in a lot of the English-speaking world right now.
And yet those young people who described their communities as accepting were significantly less likely to risk taking their own lives.
I don't want to scare you. I'm not saying this so you throw your hands in the air because everything is awful. I'm simply saying, according to every survey, study, and the experience of queer people past and present, you supporting your child's queerness will mean they are happier, healthier, and more likely to have a good relationship with you. Those are the facts. It's a hard time to be a queer person in general, but it's even harder for those people who are queer and also have to depend on the goodwill, care, and emotional and financial support of others to live.
If you think that your family is going to give your child a hard time, or if you think that your child is some kind of rainbow, this video may be them telling you.
Hi! Have a conversation with them and make sure you're on the same page. Ask what they need of you and how you can support them. Talk to them like people. You can work this out together. And remember that if they tell you something you did hurt them, they're not telling you you're the Grinch. It just means there's something that could be changed. In conclusion, back to the celebration.
Wasn't that a lovely dinner? Grab a glass of sparkling Diet Coke. Get ready to open Aunt Mabel's gifts by the fire.
No matter where you spend your holidays, no matter if you are at home with your parents or if you have your chosen family around you, remember that you do not need to defend or explain your right to exist, live and have a good time. Remember that you deserve to prioritise your emotions and safety as much as those people around you. And remember, it is not your job to make sure adults behave. You're not their parent, and they're not children. They can buck up. And if you're a parent, make sure you are explicitly being supportive of your child and making sure they know you have their back. Talk to them, find out how they feel, and find out if there's anything they need from you. Because family should not be about not getting to say you didn't want to see those people. It should be about care and support. Leave a comment to let me know a time when you felt supported, or when you didn't. Let's commiserate together.
Oh, and if you want to do something else together, then might I recommend my lovely line of merch t-shirts. You can find them linked in the description down below, or on the YouTube merch shelf.
And if you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy my previous video about how the woke agenda really isn't ruining the world. Link in the card right up here.
You should also make sure to follow me on Instagram, @JessGoToTheCloset, where I promise I only ever feature nice gifts.
Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye. P.S. Again, Aunt Mabel is absolutely a metaphor. I don't have an Aunt Mabel. If you're an Aunt Mabel out there with queer nibblings, this is probably not about you. Or is it?